What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about retrieving data from the database in Firebase. That was kind of weird. Retrieving database from the Firebase database. So right now, as you know it, in our application right here, if we refresh the page, we don't get our glasses. Now the date range is right because my date range is 4/7, which is right, but we don't see it right here. And the reason why we do not see it is because our Redux store isn't up to date with the database. We're not fetching anything from the database and then dumping it to the Redux store. The Redux store is brand new. Every time you refresh it, it erases everything from the Redux store and then dumps it. Like, you don't have nothing. So that's why we're not seeing nothing here. But if you do add another one, let's say a truck, I have no idea, 1200, and we bought it 15, whatever. If you do get another one, you do see it come up here, and you also get it over here in our database, which is this one right here. Yep, right there, truck. You do get the new one, but you don't get the old one. That's because the Redux store, we did create one right here, up here. Let me go up here. We did create this one where when you add an expense, it will push it to the Redux store as well, right here. Dispatch, add expense, and then our expense. So it does this, but it never grabs the whatever is inside of the database. And that's where we're going to be focusing on this video right now, fetching data from the database. So in order to do that, we're going to have to do exactly what we have right here. Two actions. One action from our Redux, for our Redux store to actually dispatch something, an action to our Redux store, and another which is going to be a function-based action. That way we could access something, we could do something with Firebase and then dispatch our Redux action. So this should not be any different. It's just two different things. I mean, it shouldn't be any different. We're just adding two things right here. So first of all, we're gonna create something right here, export const, and then I'm gonna set it to set expenses because that's what we're going to be doing. And for right now, I'm just leave it like this. And then right now, another one is going to be export const, and then start set expenses. And this is for our Redux action, and this is for our Firebase action. Okay. Now, before we even move on, I do want to add something inside of our app.js. In our app.js, I do want to add a loading screen. That's because we're going to be retrieving the data, remember that, from our database. So that may take some time. So I want a loading screen. So what we're going to be doing is adding that in. So instead of just rendering out our application, just the first thing we do is going to be loading our loading screen. So I don't have a loading SVG or a loading anything, so I'm just commonly just loading. And then once we actually grab the data from the database, we do want to display our application. So down here, I am going to say store dot dispatch, and we do need our start set expenses right here. So don't worry, I am going to explain what I'm doing right now in a few. Oh God. Copy, paste from actions / expense actions. Now what I'm doing right now is that once we run our application, the first thing that's going to happen is this. We're going to react dom.render a loading. So this is going to happen. So now once the store.dispatches the start set expenses, which is in charge of grabbing the data from the database, right? Then once that all happens, then what we want to do is actually load our application with all the data that we have inside. So this is why I'm doing this right now. So that way you get a feel of what we're doing, and it won't confuse you later on. I did this first, so basically it won't confuse you once we start doing this over here. All right, now that we have that, let's see. Yeah, we do have our loading. So it's actually loading, and yeah, we're gonna get an error because it doesn't even know what start expenses is. All right, now we actually get in here. So this Redux action, it's exactly the same thing as all the above Redux actions. So in here, we're gonna set that to an arrow function, which is going to have expenses inside of it, just like that. And what we're going to be returning is an object, because Redux only messes around with objects and we don't need a function for it. The type is going to be set underscore expenses. And what we're going to be sending is expenses. Just like that. That is it. That's all for our Redux action. It's pretty simple. It's the same thing as the ones up here. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. It shouldn't be as complicated because it's almost the exact same stuff over here. So right here, what we're going to be doing is an arrow function. This should have been obvious. And then we're going to return dispatch, because this action gets called internally from Redux. So we do need to return a dispatch. It does get called. We don't need to return. It does. Our function gets called with a dispatch. Anyways, right here, this is the part where it might confuse you. We do need to return again. Return, and this return is actually in charge of, where is it at? This dot then, because we're actually waiting for start expenses to do something and then load our application with our data. And this return is actually in charge of that. So we're going to return, and what are we going to return? The database stuff. So database.ref, and you already know it's going to reference our expenses, just like that. And then .once. Now you should, this part right here should not be new. We already discussed this in the previous videos. We're going to get a value, and then .then. What do we get back from this? We get a snapshot of our database. So we do need, it does get called with a snapshot. And this is where we're going to actually have to filter, or not filter, turn the object that comes in snapshot into an array, because our Redux store, we designed it to actually, play around with arrays and not objects. So we just need to convert that object that we get back into an array. And we've already done that before in the past videos. I'm not going to go over it. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to create a const expenses, and this is going to be set into an array. And then we're going to get a snapshot dot for each. And then child snapshot. Yes. All right, you might be getting confused, so let me actually stop right here and explain what snapshot is and child snapshot. Even though we did explain it in other videos, it's going to be a quick recap. Snapshot is actually, let me go back over here. Snapshot is the object that expense has. So it has two objects, obviously, this one and this one. It's this whole thing right here, all right? That's our snapshot. Our child snapshot, okay, basically our snapshot is expenses, which has these two objects. Our child snapshots is each individual child inside of it. So we got two childs in here. Okay, that is it. That's quick recap. There you go. So what I'm doing is looping through that child snapshot, which is going to be that one single object. And what I'm going to do is push it. So expenses dot push and what are we going to be pushing in? An object with the ID of child snapshot dot key, and then spreading out child snapshot dot val. Now, let me go over that. Snapshot.key, you already know what that is. Let me go back over here. Snapshot.key is this unique identifier, and the value, that snapshot.val, is everything inside of here, which is an object, and that's the reason why we used the spread operator. All right, so that's that. Like I said, guys, this is more detailed in the other videos that I have. Okay, so do not worry about that. I do have other videos that cover this in more detail. Just look them up. So once we're done with all this, what we need to do is actually dispatch our set expenses. So dispatch set expenses. And then what we do need to call in here is our expenses. Our expense array. So I'm just copying it. So that way this has our stuff inside of it as well. Whew. All right. Now, if we did everything correctly, which I'm hoping to God we did, we should get our page loading. Let me see over here. It's loading, and then it gets loaded, and then we don't have our stuff. Let's see what's going on here. Hold up. Did we? I know what went wrong. I know what went wrong. I think I do. Yep. All right. Every time we create an action, we need to add it to our reducers. So let me copy this. Copy. And we do need to set a case up for this. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot about this. So case set expenses, and what set expenses does is actually return action dot expenses. Just like that. Now if you control save, let's see. There you go. Oh yeah, we get our stuff back. So let me actually explain what happened there. So all we're doing is returning action.expenses. Action obviously is the object that we get back, and expenses is the thing that we passed in, so we get that right here. Action expenses, which is over here. You already get the point, right? You already go what's going on, what's happening now, right? So now every time that refresh, we're not going to get an empty screen. We see loading for a brief second, and then once we get our data back, we do get our application with all the data. Now if we add another one, let me see, house, I don't know. And then we bought this in the future because I want to buy it in the future. 30th, add expense. We don't have it right here, but if we do move it, we should have it right there. If we refresh it, let me actually, and there we go. We actually have our data. So that's actually basically it for this video. I am going to go over it, just what we've done, because I think I explained it a little bit too fast. Okay. All right. Let's take a bit, but we're actually done. If you don't want to listen to this part, you don't have to. You just skip over it. But let's actually go into this again. So as I stated, sorry, that's my work. As I stated, once we ran the application, our first application, we never got data from the database. So what we needed to do was create two actions, one for Redux and one for Firebase. Redux, doing the Redux thing, getting into their, pushing the stuff into the Redux store, and Firebase, grabbing Firebase stuff. I mean, doing Firebase things like grabbing, pushing, deleting stuff from the database. And this is why we needed to create two more actions, one for Redux and one for Firebase. The Redux is pretty simple. We just need a type, set expenses, and we're going to be passing in our expenses into that action. We do need to add it to the expense reducer. Okay, don't forget about that. This is the part where it actually does the thing that we needed to do, like pushing it to the Redux store. Okay, so this is pretty simple. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. This is what we need to do to get the data from the Firebase. So we need this first part should be very simple. It's just we return a function that gets dispatched because it's internally called. You already know that. And this is where we do all of our data, or get our stuff from a Firebase, where we get our Firebase stuff. Snapshot, because snapshot is an object. Redux doesn't play well, we created it not to play well with objects. We created it to play with arrays and not objects. So what we need to do is grab the snapshot that it comes back with and convert that into an array, which we do down here. And then we dispatch our Redux action, set expenses, passing in expenses, and voila, we get our Redux store with our data. So now let me go back here. If we actually close out of this, let me actually open it up again. Where is it at? Here it is. We're always going to grab our data. You saw that little loading right there. We're always going to have our data, which is pretty nice. You know, there it is, which is really, really nice. It's awesome. So in the next video, we're going to be doing remove expenses and actually updating expenses. This one took a little bit longer, the fetching expenses, because it takes me a while to tell you how things are happening. So the other two should be pretty much straightforward, just moving along. And if you want to give it a try, man. I mean, I encourage you that. So that way you can get a handle custom to all these things, muscle memory and all that stuff. So yeah, try it out for yourself. It should be simple. Like I said, it's going to be this right here, exactly the same thing. And we already have our update, which is the edit, and our remove. All you need to do is add a action for your Firebase. All right. And that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it and actually learned something today. And let me actually tell you the whole catalog, or not the catalog, but I'm gonna just say menu. The menu of what's going to happen from here on out. So the next video is going to be remove and then update expenses. And then the video after that is actually creating a separate test database. Now this is going to be because we don't want our real data mismatching, or we don't want our real data with our test data. We want two databases for our test stuff and our real user data stuff. So we're going to create two databases, and also we're going to create our Heroku environment variable, so that way we could push this thing up and be done with it. Well, not really done with it, because we still need to do Firebase authentication. But yeah, that's beside the point. But that's it, guys. That's the whole menu for the next 3 videos. Thank you guys. Like I said, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.